Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today we're digging into a really fascinating and I think deeply counterintuitive idea.
Hmm.
We've got sources from leadership studies, theology, organizational behavior, and they're all pointing to this one central theme: the necessary order of your life. Our whole deep dive is on this principle of identity before impact.
That's it.
And the core tension here is, well, it's something everyone recognizes, I think.
Oh, absolutely.
If you're in any kind of leadership, any professional environment, the culture just operates on this really clear, almost unspoken assumption.
It's transactional.
Completely. It's
Yeah.
effectiveness precedes affirmation. You produce the results, you get the win, and then you get the legitimacy. Then you've earned your place.
But the material we've been looking at suggests that a core spiritual truth it completely reverses that equation.
It's a subtle reversal, but it's explosive, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. Because if you flip that order, you invert the entire structure of your soul. And that inversion, that's what we see fueling so many of these pathologies. Burnout, comparison, this, relentless striving we see everywhere.
Right.
So our mission for you, the learner, is to really unpack the theological architecture behind a secure identity. We want to explore how failing to root your worth in that divine affirmation makes everything you do feel heavy.
Unsustainable.
Exactly. Unsustainable and spiritually disoriented. We're looking for the real foundation for faithful service.
And to really get this, we have to start at the defining event for this whole framework: the baptism of Jesus in the Jordan River. Just try to picture that scene. He's coming from 30 years of total obscurity in Nazareth. 30 years.
Yeah, nothing to show for it.
Nothing. Before he performs a single miracle, preaches one sermon, gathers a single disciple, the Spirit descends, and the Father's voice just breaks the silence. You are my beloved Son. With you I am well pleased.
And that detail, the sequence of it, should genuinely unsettle us.
It's so disturbing from a modern perspective.
It really is. The sources point out this complete lack of a resume. If you were reviewing his professional file at that moment, it would be blank. No measurable impact, nothing.
Yeah.
And yet, identity, full, complete, unqualified worth was spoken over him before the assignment even began.
Which forces us to ask this really uncomfortable question about our own lives, our own work.
Yeah.
What if the single greatest threat to sustainable, faithful leadership today? What if it's not a lack of strategy or gifting, or even a lack of effort?
Right.
What if it's just a deep, unresolved insecurity about who we are before we even start?
That's the entire game. The professional world tells us, first, prove you're worth something, then you get affirmed. First, be effective, then you'll secure your legitimacy.
And that subtle shift-making performance, the pathway to worth instead of the expression of it,
Yeah.
it makes everything feel like a negotiation.
A weary one. The source material describes it perfectly. It makes obedience heavy. If you have to earn your place every single day, your service is just. It's a transaction. There's no joy in that.
But the biblical pattern, what we're calling the Jordan pattern, just completely flips that logic.
Yeah.
Identity isn't something you discover through success.
No.
It's a spoken gift. It's bestowed relationally.
And we see this pattern again and again.
It's everywhere once you look for it. Think about Abraham. He's called Father of Nations before he has a single legitimate heir.
Right. No track record.
Moses is named the deliverer of Israel before he's even gone to Pharaoh. He's just a scared shepherd.
David, anointed king while he's still a shepherd boy, totally overlooked by his family.
And even Israel itself, called God's treasured possession before they ever get the law at Sinai. The pattern is just.
Yeah.
It's absolute. Identity first.
And that creates the sustainable flow. If your identity is received, if it's a gift that exists regardless of your output, then your service becomes an overflow of that security.
It's a response of love.
Exactly. Not a transaction to pay off an insecurity debt.
Okay, so let's zoom in on the language at the Jordan. Because beloved sounds a little sentimental to our ears.
It does, but it's not. The Greek word agapitos is. It's profoundly covenantal, even political.
How so?
Well, that one word fuses two massive streams from the Old Testament. It echoes Psalm 2, which is all about royal enthronement. It's declaring Jesus as the king.
Okay.
But at the same time, it echoes Isaiah 42, which names him as the suffering servant, the one who will save through humility.
So in that one word, beloved, the Father is affirming both the king who rules and the servant who suffers.
Exactly. Power and humility, kingship and servanthood, all fused into one secure identity. You don't have to choose. Your worth is secured in both.
And we can't just skip over the time scale here. 30 years.
The hidden years.
Those 30 years in Nazareth that's just growing up, learning, working as a carpenter.
They weren't wasted time. They weren't delay. They were formative. They show us that God values depth before display. Identity is so often forged in that obscurity, in the unseen years where nobody's applauding. If we try to skip that, we end up building our public life on a really shaky foundation.
Which is a direct confrontation to our modern credentialism.
Right.
The world demands proof, metrics, results before it gives you any legitimacy. But the sources keep stressing that divine pleasure is ontological, not functional. We have to break that down.
Yeah, this is maybe the most important distinction in the whole deep dive. Think of it like this. Functional worth is based on what you do.
Your job title, your output.
Your salary, your gift set, whatever. If your worth is functional, the day you get sick or retire or your project fails, your worth just plummets. Ontological worth, on the other hand, is based on who you are. It's intrinsic. It's conferred by the Father. You can't earn it.
You can't lose it.
You can't lose it. God's pleasure rests on the person, the beloved son or daughter, not the portfolio. So if you're operating from that place, failure is just an event. It's not a definition of who you are.
That makes so much sense. Because if I see myself through a functional lens, any dip in performance is a crisis of my very being.
It is.
So if you reverse the order, if you put performance first, that leads directly to all those pathologies we talked about.
That's exactly where the disorientation starts. When your leadership flows from that need to prove your worth, you get these three interconnected problems that just wreck people.
And the first one is, it's everywhere. Comparison.
Insecurity just breeds comparison. We mask it in the professional world. We call it strategic benchmarking or healthy competition.
Right.
But it's really this dangerous horizontal gaze. The second you start measuring your worth against someone else's platform or their outcomes, you've already forfeited your own calling. You see it with Saul and David. Saul's insecurity about David's success led to paranoia, and it destroyed him.
And the second one, which I think is responsible for so much pain, is overwork and scriving. I was actually shocked that our sources identified burnout as an identity issue first, not a scheduling problem.
It really is. When your identity is shaky, you're driven by this compulsion to do more to try and secure it. We call it zeal or commitment.
But it's just anxiety.
It's anxiety in disguise. And think about it. If your value is truly tied to your usefulness, then rest is impossible.
It feels irresponsible.
Completely. Limits feel like failure. Slowing down feels like risking irrelevance. Burnout is just the logical consequence of trying to prop up an ontological reality, your worth, with purely functional means, your output. It can't be done.
Wow. And the third one is maybe the most insidious because it looks so spiritual. Self-promotion.
Yeah, when your service flows from insecurity, it stops being about the mission and it becomes about getting validated.
So you start confusing the applause of people with the affirmation of God.
That's it. The Pharisees are the classic example. They did all these great religious acts, but their motivation was always public approval. They were serving for the applause.
Or the elder brother in the parable.
Perfect example. He was perfectly obedient. He stayed home. He worked the fields. But his obedience was transactional. It was totally divorced from delight. And when his brother gets celebrated, his performance-based identity just shatters, and it turns to bitterness.
So if the Jordan pattern is affirmation first, what happens immediately after? Because this sequence is so important.
It's crucial.
I mean, if Jesus just received this full, secure affirmation, you are my beloved son, why does the Spirit then immediately lead him into the wilderness for this intense test? Doesn't that sort of undercut the idea of secure rest?
That's the essential question. And the answer is that the test isn't to earn the identity. It's to prove that the identity is already secure. The sequence is everything. Affirmation precedes testing.
Okay.
And notice Satan's core challenge. It's always an assault on his legitimacy, if you are the Son of God. He's trying to get Jesus to discard the word that was spoken and instead prove his sonship through performance.
Turn stones to bread, seize the kingdoms.
Yes, it's the ultimate temptation to put impact before identity.
But Jesus just refuses to perform to prove his worth. He doesn't use his power. He doesn't rely on self-confidence. He just anchors himself in the word already spoken.
It is written.
His armor is his sonship. That baptismal affirmation becomes the anchor that lets him endure all of that testing without having to frantically justify his existence.
So if we are adopted into that same sonship, if the Father's affirmation is our inheritance, then the goal for us has to be practical. How do we move our own souls from that compulsive striving to a place of secure receiving?
Yeah, how do we live this out? The sources offered some really concrete remedies for this.
Hmm.
The first one is what they call identity prayer. And this isn't about, generating some intense emotion. It's about simple repetition.
Just reminding yourself.
Yes, consciously using Scripture to name yourself as beloved, as accepted. So for you listening, this is super practical. If you feel that inadequacy after a tough meeting, you literally pause and you speak the truth of your secure identity over yourself. It counters that internal narrative.
The second one is weekly silence and Sabbath. And this has to be agenda-free time. You're strategically removing your own usefulness from the equation.
That is terrifying for a lot of people.
It is, because the purpose of Sabbath isn't just to relax. It's a theological protest. When you sit before God without producing or performing, that silence, it exposes just how deeply your identity is still tied to your contribution.
It forces you to just rest in being, not doing.
Exactly. If you're terrified of silence, that's probably where the real work needs to begin.
And finally, we have to ruthlessly reframe success. True success, in this framework, it's measured by faithfulness and obedience, not visibility, not applause.
Which means we have to learn to value hidden faithfulness.
Yes, the ordinary, unseen work, the stuff nobody tweets about.
If the Father was pleased with Jesus during those 30 hidden years in Nazareth, then we have to conclude that God is just as pleased with faithfulness that never, ever generates a headline.
When your identity is secure, when you really operate from that subtle knowledge that you are already beloved, leadership becomes restful.
Ministry becomes sustainable. Influence flows from a place of deep security, not anxiety or compulsion. It's a true overflow of love you've already received, not a frantic search for the next head of validation.
So to wrap up, we've covered this crucial Jordan pattern affirmation before assignment. We've detailed the pathologies of performance that happen when you get that backwards. And we've talked about the absolute necessity of rooting your service in this bedrock of belovedness, of ontological worth.
At the end of the day, the ultimate question that shapes your soul isn't what must I do to be enough? It's whose voice will I trust to tell me who I am?
And that leads to the challenge we want to leave you with. If your life and your leadership are built on the sequence of the Jordan identity first, impact second, what foundational belief about productivity or external worth must you actively release today? And how will letting go of that belief change the quality and the sustainability of your service over the next decade?